So we've all heard the statistic that women, apply for only 60% of jobs that they're not qualified for, and men apply for 100% of jobs they're not qualified for. I don't quite understand how that statistic was gained or exactly. I looked it up on multiple different places just to find out how I could even say it correctly, but it doesn't quite really make sense to me the way that's that statistic has been shared. But the point being that women, we are socialized to be rule followers. We're socialized, from a very young age that.
Well, hold on. Let me just add to that to just clarify. So I think what that study is referencing is we apply only when we essentially feel like we know that we're qualified. Whereas men will apply for a job when they can clearly know to themselves, I don't think I'm actually qualified for this, but I'm going to apply anyway. That's the essence of the percentages, right? Is that
exactly. That's behind.
They're down to apply when they are sure that they don't qualify. Whereas we absolutely are just not going to do that. Generally.
Yes. And thank you for clarifying that. I think, many of you have probably heard of this statistic or heard something like this. And if you haven't, then it's great for you to hear it now, because it's an important thing. And we're talking about that today, and that kind of the whys behind that primarily. So really what I was just getting at, and then I want to hear your thoughts, Liz, is just that, when we think about a statistic like that, it comes down to, a lot of people ask why, and a lot of people might say that women are just less confident. But our point in this conversation is not that women are less confident in themselves and that they can do the job, because there are other statistics out there saying that that's not why they didn't apply for the job. It's not because they felt like they couldn't do the job well. Sometimes it was that they felt like they wouldn't get hired because they didn't meet all the qualifications. But, many of the times it's just, that they didn't think that's how it worked, that they didn't meet these qualifications. So, all right, well, why even apply? Because I'm not going to get the job. So it's about, the rules behind the hiring process, and maybe not quite understanding that there are more things that go into hiring, and make more things that go into, climbing a career ladder than just having these specific pieces of paper, or these certifications, or these, the receipts of your experience kind of thing. And that's what I was getting at with there's actually a reason that a lot of us feel like these qualifications are so important, because for so long, actually, that is how we got jobs. We had to have that. And no matter how many people we knew, or how well we advocated for ourselves, there was true barriers of sexism that were different than they are now, and that it was actually required for us to meet these qualifications. So now that that's not the case as much, and now that we're moving into a new era of, feminism, and a new era of the workplace and gender equality, we have to figure out how to play the game differently, because it's not working how it used to. And I think, or we've never learned how to play the game, is really the point. So Liz, what are your thoughts on all this? I know you have many.
Yeah, I have lots of them. We'll see if they all find their way to this microphone. But yeah, so this was a topic that I brought to you, Lane, that I wanted to cover. And first of all, let me be clear. Today's conversation is not just about getting hired. Our conversation is more broadly about women. And I wouldn't even say just in the workplace. I would say women and career success, because that to me is the more broad topic. And I would argue that everything that we discuss not only would probably apply to career, but it applies in other ways. And, for me personally, this has been something that has come on my radar more and more as I've elevated in my levels of success. And I will say that I'm going to focus on the gender component, as a woman today. But I would also just note that this also has doubly, triply, quadruply more significance for any woman of color, because research shows, and my experience shows, both as personal experience and professionally in consulting and the coaching work that I do, that we're not even thinking about game. Generally speaking, like, women aren't thinking about, even the word game has such a negative connotation. And to your point earlier, Lane, we are raised, it's way before, it's not like, this is before the part about how there was one point in which there was a certification or degree that would get you in the door. I'm going back to birth.
Yeah.
And up until today, in 2023, little girls are still being raised in a way that says we should be following rules. We're taught
Yeah.
about
Definitely.
the critical importance of following rules.